Welcome back to the channel. All right, it's time for the next class in the December 2024 Top 10 series from myself and the MCoC Illuminati. Hopefully you're familiar with the format by now, but if you're not, we're going to jump to a quick explainer of the format out of this. The whole idea is for you to see all the different minds and experiences that go into creating that general tier list each and every single month, and also that there are so many different ways to be incredibly successful in this game. And that's why so many different people like so many different champions. And then we put that together for you each and every single month in the general tier list. And then before you head on, there's timestamps in the description so you can jump around. You'll see my rankings too. Of course, make sure you enter the drawing to win the free 6-star relic that I will be giving away. I have changed that deadline to December 30th, which is why the intro to all these videos is now the same. That's the day of the release of the general tier list in December from myself and the Illuminati. Make sure you comment on all these videos, you make me laugh, you show you watch the video, and you provide some constructive criticism on ways I can make my videos and these videos better so we can all have just even more fun and learn even more things as we head into 2025. Pay attention to YouTube comments because that's how I will be contacting you. All right, let's get into this. All right, now here's going to be the format for every single one of these class top 10s as we go through December 2024. You can see on the right-hand side, we broke the game down into 4 different categories. The way we are looking at the game, what we think about when we're making our rank ups, and when we get together and do the monthly tier list, right? It's what helps prevent the tier list from being too biased towards one person's experience for the modes they enjoy and those sorts of things. Broken down between battlegrounds, fun, alliance, war, and content. Fun is like, who do you enjoy playing, all right? And there's gonna be the personal and the recommended. For mine, I'm gonna always be going through the recommended. We're gonna look at the Illuminati's, and then I will show you my recommended. And then at the very end, we will definitely take a look at my personal too. So you can see how that is different based on what I personally enjoy and what I think would be great for someone who's playing the game in a similar way to me. All right, let's take a look at what the Illuminati has for us. All right, let's take a look at the Illuminati's mutant tier list, right? And always keep in mind their priorities. You can see Egatron here, BG's 4, War 4. You can see the credentials there, obviously off the charts. And you can see that really makes a lot of sense. The champions that Egg is recommending, ranking up, the sorts of things. One of the ones that really stands out to me is Havoc. Havoc is a high quality champion, fantastic champion. Reed loves Havoc too. You know, I do as well. War is a place where Havoc really stands out. The absolute versatility, the energy resistances, and then the ability to have a damage over time effect in combination with the massive SB3, and the SB2 can hit pretty hard too. And then you see Professor X showing up there. I think if you're in questing content in War, Professor X is a champion that really shines. It's Battlegrounds that has prevented me from ranking him up, even though I absolutely love that champion. Moving on to TJ, and again, a very high War score. Then you look at it and it just tremendously makes sense. Also, TJ is an insanely high-skilled Battlegrounds player, but you're seeing the prevalence or the positioning of Professor X. Great in War, especially with power backs. Remember, Professor X, they just can't miss. The opponent just can't miss. I personally really want my Professor X's Awakened. I think it's helped significantly in getting him ramped and making that safer. But again, you get him charged up. He's great for your mutant opponent or your mutant synergy partners as well. And then, of course, like I said, with the power backs, you're seeing Wolverine Weapon X. TJ is one of the absolute sources I went to when I first got my Weapon X and learned how to pull off all those insane, amazing fights. And then you see Omega Red. You're doing War. You're doing high tier War. You got a high tier Omega Red. You know that he is a phenomenal champion. I know I've been covering up a lot of MCoC encyclopedias, at least one of those tiers, because I'm hoping that he puts out a tier list video of his own. His monthly tier list or his general tier list is phenomenal. And congratulations on winning War Season MCoC encyclopedia to you and all of Salty. You can see the content focus here. This has been pretty consistent. You're seeing a lot more of the 6 stars and MCoC encyclopedias, because the priority is not your PvP modes where you're facing all those 7-star rank 3s, where a little bit of chip damage is like this massive deal, where one input going wrong will cause you a death and cause your alliance to lose war. So you're seeing that. And it's no wonder his guides on content are so absolutely phenomenal as you're making your way through Act 7, Act 8, and the whole thing. This all just makes a complete sense, and I love it. I love seeing Apocalypse still up there. He's such a great champion. I hope we see him as a 7-star soon. Moving on to Campo, and you already know how much I love Campo, right? Campo is like one of the original MCoC Illuminati. He's been busting out a lot of content. It's been phenomenal. I've been enjoying his top 10s as well. This one I'm covering up is personal. You got to go watch it on your own, and you're going to be delighted, and you're going to be so informed and entertained as you go along the way. I learned so much from this man. You can see the priority there is on content and having fun. And like I've been saying in all of my videos, if you prioritize having fun, no one enjoys playing crappy champions. If you prioritize having fun, you're going to know the champions well, and then when content hits, you're really likely to have someone ranked up. You can see this as how smart Campo is by how highly he has rated Dazzler. No, it's not just because I love Dazzler too. It's because Dazzler is that amazing. And then in the fun, you're seeing Kitty Pryde, Archangel. I don't know how fun Archangel is, but some people do really enjoy it. I think a lot of that is a focus on content. And Archangel's totally unique ability, just completely shut off ability accuracy, all abilities with just a parry heavy style. And then B McG, just like such a level-headed tier list, right? Content 3, Alliance War 2, Fun 2.5, BG's 5. B could be an insanely high-scoring Battlegrounds player. He just doesn't designate the time to it, but the knowledge and the skill is absolutely there. He's been kicking it and crushing in 4 Loki for an incredibly long time. I do believe we're well into the years portion of this, and you can see that with the really balanced approach to how he is ranking his mutants. You still see some of the 6 stars on there, some of the ones that people would consider maybe broken or flirting with the OP. It's up to you how you decide to break that down. And then I do believe, if I'm looking at this all properly, this is the first appearance we're seeing of Deadpool X-Force. We'll talk about him very, very briefly when we get to my tier list, because I do think he's a force and someone that you do want to be aware of. Make sure you go subscribe to all their channels and definitely check out and let B, Campo, and MCoC Encyclopedia know I said hello and sent you over there if you're not already subscribed. But you're a pretty smart viewer, so I have the feeling you are. All right, let's go ahead and get to my tier list, right? This is going to be based on my recommendations, my priorities, which again are Battlegrounds and fun. I have never once found that when I went into Join War, tier 3 there with 4 BGs, or when EOP comes along or apt content, that I didn't have a champion available. If you really prioritize a competitive mode like that, and then you prioritize fun, you're always going to have someone. You're always going to, because like I've been saying all these, no one has fun with a crappy champion. Like there's a few instances out there, and it's really cool to see. But in general, the vast majority of us think they're fun because we like the character or because we find them powerful and fun to play in this game. Meaning when those challenges come out to you, if you've ranked a variety of champions, you're going to have someone available. So those priorities have always worked out for me. And I really feel that even if you don't enjoy Battlegrounds, you're going to be able to get something out of this. The other thing is, make sure you go and comment on these videos. I am running that giveaway for the 6-star relic, which will be given out on the 29th, the day of the release of the general tier list when me and the Illuminati fully get together. So make sure you've been commenting on all these videos. You follow the basic criteria that I put on my community tab there. It's fun. We're having a good time, and someone will get a 6-star relic, which is pretty cool. All right, we're going to start off with the honorable mentions, and the first one we're going to talk about very quickly is Deadpool X-Force. He is now fixed on the CCP server. I'm going to do my best to get a full video out on all of the Guardians, kind of talking about them through, which one's best for you and those sorts of things. On the off shot, I'm not available because I have so many videos to make before I leave on my vacation. Deadpool X-Force is great. The damage is massive, right? And no one is immune to it. The thing that I have a slight concern with him, or like the negative, because every champion's got a weakness or a negative, is there isn't a lot of utility, right? He's not handling evade, he's not handling auto block, he's not handling miss, he doesn't handle damage back mechanics or anything like that. But having a damage source that literally no one is immune to and can be an absolute nuke, I think people are going to enjoy using him in questing for sure. And I think here's probably going to be a role in Battlegrounds if you can play him with a high enough skill. We talk about it all the time in the Battlegrounds tier list, where there are champions who maybe aren't perfect. They're not like what we grade as 10 out of 10. But if you do enough and you put them together and you basically support them through your drafting and your bans, they can basically turn out for you to be like a 10 out of 10. All right, the other two, just really quick, and we'll move on, is Archangel and Nightcrawler. Archangel, again, my priorities being Battlegrounds and fun. I'm just not finding him being able to shut things off nearly as much, and he's paying that 6-star tax in not only competitive modes, but in act content, where 7 stars really get a benefit, and then also you're facing 7 stars. Nightcrawler, I did the video, and I told you, I was like, hey, listen, I think he's going to be powerful, but I would hold off. I would wait. The signature ability is really important. You know, some people went out and had fun, and you should. It's a game. Have a great time. I don't think I'm going to be ranking mine up, but I will say he's very powerful. Does a lot of damage, not a ton of utility. And then he's a pretty annoying defender on defense, especially if you have him awakened. All right, let's move on to the number 10 champion of this, for my rankings and my parties. It's none other than Bishop. I will admit, and I will say, and you're going to see this when we do the general tier list, because the Illuminati and I have already kind of had our big summit after we've already stress tested all of this. I do think Bishop is falling off. And he's one of the champions falling off due to the growth of power in the mutant class over the last year and a half. Remember, we had 3 mutants come out for 2 years. Toad was the best one. Think that through. Toad was the best mutant for 3 years. That lets you know there was basically no movement in the power level of Toad. And then another champion who we'll see later on in this list came out and just blew the roof off something. The house, I think is what it is. But we'll talk about it when we get to him. Bishop's still really good. I'm not saying Bishop's bad. I'm just saying when I always talk about the Venn diagram of what champions cover, the defenders, the nodes, and those sorts of things. And Bishop's Venn diagram is definitely being eaten away. One of the things that was really crazy about him was his energy resistance. Well, you heard me talk earlier about Havoc and that sort of thing. Then he's also had the stun replacement, right? And that's really great for Bishop. However, you often want to get to your special 2, but his SP2, even as a 7-star, the stat focus helps, don't get me wrong, but it often doesn't crit. And if it doesn't crit, it's not getting the fight. And then you've got to build back up to it. He's still a fantastic champion. He can cheese some things with you with his inner resistance and then his overload. I really do like him. I'm not saying don't rank him up. Most people, not me, but most people have learned to evade his SP2, so he doesn't have quite the defensive battleground prowess that he used to. Prowler's got immunity, OG Iron Man, and then now, of course, infamous Iron Man, who just jokes and laughs at Bishop on defense. So he's losing his defensive power too. His panache, I think, would be the word. He's still great. He's still good, but definitely a 10 for me. And I do think on his way down. Moving on, we will go to number 9, who is none other than, was recently mentioned. And then in a really interesting way, I think the only reason Havoc could potentially move down is if more mutants come out. He's still hanging on because he just seems to constantly find a way to be relevant. I think it's because of how insanely well he was built, and less about moving to a specific moment and more about him having a variety of ways to do his damage. Remember, he has the damage over time. I think it's if you land your heavy, right? Yeah, it's the plasma feedback. The SP2 can go unblockable and can do some really, really solid damage. And then the SP3 is just definitely a killing move. Remember when he first came into the game, people were taking out things with him. He also has the really high energy resistance. He absolutely laughs when you try to use him to take on Onslaught. I've shown that many times. It wasn't until I really learned to fight Onslaught better that Havoc was my favorite counter to him. And still, ultimately, at times, it's great to just be able to take in Havoc on a fight. If the node makes it too difficult, you just want to laugh at Onslaught. And then, especially if you've spec'd into Inequity, right? Because Havoc is putting those debuffs on. You spec into Inequity, he's still a pretty good Battlegrounds defender. Not great, not dominant or anything like that, but he's a reasonable dual threat. He's got the non-contact medium, so you can handle some of that damage back mechanic. I've shown that. I absolutely love Hammock. Hammock is great, but Havoc is even better than Hammock. Okay, moving on to number 8. This champion was kind of tough for me to put where I did. In many ways, I felt like I was almost showing too much bias if I put her higher, because she is such a great champion in MCoC. I don't know how else to phrase it that way. I think they're all really good, right? But there's champions that just come out where they kind of push the envelope. They have really great uses. They're definitely not broken. They're probably not OP. But man, are they good? They have value. People can pull them. They can use them. They can handle a variety of nodes and defender combinations. I mean, think about this, right? Just out of the box, she's immune to bleed, poison, and shock effects. Her light and heavy attacks do not make contact. Well, and then the designer did such a great job. They went through and they made sure in her animations that if you're baiting heavies off of a Korg or a Tuma, you can get in there light. And so you can utilize that to your advantage to not take that damage back. I swear I will eventually get out the dust video. It's just got to prioritize some things. But I use her to take a Tuma. She's fantastic in this. No one's immune to her sand effects. They have some fun with that, right? It gets everywhere. She's punishing Purify, which is in the skill class and in nodes, but she's punishing that in a really unique way, not just like a replacement or something like that, but for her own buildup, right? And then she goes into the Sandstorm. She's really unique in that her SB1 is actually like per power level spent. Her damaging one, the SB2, is great. You get those physical vulnerabilities, which is also relatively unique in the mutant class. So you go into your Sandstorm, the SB3 creates one that's longer, the heavy not as long, but you can use the heavy to start it, your SB2, and then you get that passive stun, right? Like, cool, if it was a stun debuff, a skill champion might shrug it, or nodes might shrug it, and you go in and you just SP1 until the defender is dead. You can run her with recoil, you can run the power backs to make her even stronger. Her awakened ability makes her an even better defender. You can tell I love this champion. I love playing her, right? And the only reason she's not higher up for me is that she's not a nuke. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that she is, right? And that's why I have her rated where she is. We have her rated, I believe we've moved her fully to a defender because she is very, very tanky, tough defender. If you mess up, you hit her block, she's going to go into Sandstorm and you're taking damage and there's nothing you can do about it. You can hold block, try to protect your eyes, no joke. That's literally what they wrote. I thought that was really, really cool. And that will mitigate the damage, but you're still going to take it. I love Dust. Such a great addition to the game. All right, now we will move on to number 7, and it's really interesting because I think because of maybe how long he's been in the game, people just don't realize what Sunspot does. Like, I think people think maybe you just get the SB2 and you just throw it and things die, and that's not wrong. Okay, that is not wrong. The one thing that you just need to understand about this, and this is really, really important, and I'm going to take the time to find it. Okay, and it's right here. And this is so rare in the mutant class. It's part of what I talk about all the time with, like, hey, if a Cosmic or a Mystic, because they're usually there, if they've got power gain, you've got my attention. Then I read the rest of the kit and I'm seeing damage, I'm seeing until I'm like, I'm focused in, I'm lasered focused in. Get me that champion on the CCP. I want to test them. Sunspot has a power back mechanic. He has a power gain. It's this third bullet point here under Incinerates. If a strike fails to apply an Incinerator on the opponent due to chance, gain 1 solar charge. You're like, where is this, Vega? And gain 10% of a bar of power. Interesting. If an Incinerate is purified, gain 1 solar charge per Incinerate purified and 10% of a bar of power each time a Purify comes or occurs. So that's why you're often hitting in. You don't even usually finish your combo. You dash back, you parry, and then you hold your heavy stun, right? And then you saw the first part. If a strike fails to apply an Incinerate on an opponent due to chance, okay, you're going to gain the solar charge. So this is why you're often seeing him in matchups that do not look like they would be advantageous to him. He is fantastic, and the SB2 can hit so hard if you get him charged up that sometimes he's even taking class disadvantage matchups. He's an absolute battlegrounds nuke, has tremendous versatility in that mode. He has almost no defensive threat. Otherwise, he would definitely be higher up, but when he's so powerful offensively, there's a reason why he's not higher up. He also doesn't handle any of the damage back mechanics, so he's missing that sort of thing. But again, the power gain for me is enough utility to have him definitely be this high up. I don't think he's moving down. Something interesting, a lot of mutants or maybe some sort of growth in the skill class or something like that would have to happen. But he's still one of the best Battlegrounds attackers in MCoC. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our number 6 champion. There could not be a better example at the number 6 champion. We've got Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I said it right. You should all be clapping for me. Thank you. This is one of the great reasons, and one of the reasons why I think it's so great that we, the CCP, have been given a map with 7-star champions on it, 7-star rank 3 champions, because we can go in and really see what the 7 stars, because like that's where it's at now, right? 6 stars still have some value. We've talked about that a lot. But the 7 stars, and then showing what they are like rank 2 or rank 3 as you're trying to decide, do I want to rank 2 them? Do I want to rank 3 them? And so a lot of us have done a great job of like prognosticating, taking the math, doing it. I think this is how it'll work. But when we can actually be like, okay, we can test a 7-star rank 3 against a 7-star rank 3. Here's a variety of health nodes. Here's how they're going to interact with a Tuma or Korg or Killmonger or Nick Fury or something like that, or Bullseye in the case of Negasonic Teenage Warhead. It's extremely helpful. And I think that's why the community didn't latch onto her as much as they should have. Jaeger has a rank 3 NTW, and he's dominating things in Battlegrounds. I'm talking like 50,000, 51,000 scores against these champions, right? Even the larger health pools. She has the evade upon evade upon evade mechanic, which I kind of laugh at, but I do think it's cool. It makes sense. She annoys me. She's always staring at her phone. I would want her awakened. So I'm grading all of them like at least awakened and with some decent SIG, because people do have 7-star 6 stones now. It also makes her a little bit of a tricky defender, right? Because she has that evade unless they have a tech champion. So I've gotten tripped up. Someone has tripped me up on that one. I really love her. She takes no damage back, right? Because of the non-contact hits. I desperately want her, and I would rank 3 her in a heartbeat. Battlegrounds, questing. I don't play well against Korg and Atumas, so having a champion that shuts them down as well as she does, I'm all for it. I am all for it. Now, moving on to number 5. Very hard, very, very hard, difficult for me to not have her higher. I meant it. I told you she was coming. I told you I was going to get her. I told you I was going to rank 3 her, and I told you I would awaken her on day 1, and I did it. I've made those videos. I've seen a lot of you have enjoyed them. You see how incredible she is. And you also saw why I awakened her. She's good without it. Don't get me wrong, but I would not rank 3 her or take her to the highest rank level until you have her awakened. And it's this first bullet point. During her hit, Dazzler takes no physical damage and instead reflects it. At Sig 8, she's reflecting almost 60% back at the opponent as a burst of energy damage. Korg and Tuma do not like energy damage, so that's really nice. And then if you get her to Sig 200, this second bullet point, performing a dazzling dash grants a pursuit passive. For those who don't know what that is, that's part of why Prowler is so great. Attacks just can't be evaded. It's similar to like Professor X. It's not like they shut down the ability accuracy or evade, or if they're class this, they don't evade, or hey, there's 15% less likely to evade. All of these various things that Kabam in building a complex game puts in, where we think we've got it covered and then we find out later we don't. She's got it covered. It's just they can't do it. They just literally can't. Okay, I'm not going to tell you that someday Kabam won't put in a pursuit immune champion or something. Maybe they will, but she's just got it, and that's just a little bit of what she's got, right? She's also immune to nullify, which is incredibly rare. She's incredibly well designed, and then she's even got something here. Oh, off of her SB2, all the various buffs she gets on, she removes them instead of them like ending or things like that, so she doesn't trigger Mystic Dispersion in those scenarios. I've gotten out videos on her over the course of my vacation that I'll be taking the next 2 weeks. I'm sure I'll be playing a lot of Dazzler. So keep your eye out for another video on Dazzler, Rank 3 Dazzler Showcase, coming late December or early January. When I was doing the rankings, I didn't realize these champions lined up the way they do. I think it's pretty funny because I also told you I was going to get Mr. Sinister, get him on day 1, do that whole thing, awaken him. He's been nothing short of what I thought. He's been nothing short of phenomenal. He's been an absolute wonderful dual threat in Battlegrounds. He was insane in the incursions. I actually haven't gotten a chance to use him in any questing because there hasn't been any like big questing that has come out. I'm totally happy with his signature ability. I do feel strongly that if you want to max him out, right? If you want the maximum Sinister for your Battlegrounds and things like that, his signature ability is incredibly helpful. If you look at it, you can see why, like even on defense, if he pulls the combat power one, that's going to be extremely helpful, right? Mystic, increasing combat power rate. Like if you fought him enough, you know that sometimes when that happens, you're like, why is he gaining power so incredibly fast? The heal back mechanic, he can be shut down, he can be beat, he's not unstoppable, but he is a threatening defender, and he's a relatively simple to play, thanks to MCoC Encyclopedia for giving me the idea on like the parry, then maybe a medium into the heavy or something like that. You can even sneak in maybe when we're hit, if it's PvE contact. The degen, he can be shut down by Kabam, right? Like if you can't parry stun or if things are interrupting your flow, you're gonna have a bad time with Sinister, but where he works, and he works in so many places, he is just absolutely dominant. I love him. He's going nowhere. He's happy here. And number 3, as far as my rankings for prioritizing fun and Battlegrounds, which again, has seen me so well in all other modes of the game as well as 2. All right, let's go and move on to the number 2 champion. You heard my priorities. I just reminded you again, because I know I don't have them on the screen with my card at all times. Domino. I did the video, and I shouldn't have done it. I think I jinxed myself, and I did the video showing her offensively. I was like, you play the opponent, and your opponent in Battlegrounds always seems to get the domino crit, but it never happens to you. It was always me, and it was so consistently always me. That has fallen off quite a bit, but what I found is, she's still menacing on defense. Like outside of like Prowler and Shuri, who counter her evade, she can still mess you up. You get to your special and she crosses bar of power and all of a sudden she's evading. She's like, sorry. And you're like, no, I don't. My ability actually can't be reduced. Like, why? And it still just happens. It happens to all of us. It hasn't happened to you ever, then congratulations, right? You're the beast of a player, I guess. And that's great. And I really am genuinely happy for you. But I know in Battlegrounds, and I'm pressed for time, and I'm really trying to get the fight done, that still happens. And that's even if she can't crit fail you. She's phenomenal on attack 2, a blast to play. The Domino Trinity is now available as a 7-star with Red Hulk 2. She's great with Masacre. I love her. I feel very comfortable with her at number. I'm glad I caught it before I was done. I see I actually accidentally skipped number 3. Number 4 was Mr. Sinister. 5 was Dazzler. So we're going to do number 3 here, which is none other than Weapon X. Again, if you're on my channel, you know how insanely good this champion is. And I actually mean on offense. Originally designed and thought of like as a defender, right? I think that was the way we all thought he was going to make his big influence in the game. And he does, and he can. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like he's stutter stepping more and more than he used to, even when he's in his rage mechanics. And if you're not bleed immune and he catches you, you're going to die. But it's offensive where I love him. I draft him early so often, especially if my opponent has a bullseye. He makes bullseye a absolute joke. You have to play it well. You can get used to it. Power gains, like the power game meta we recently had, can make it a little bit more difficult. I'm not saying it can't. But the thing is, because of any evade, he like gains more of his rage. I mean, you can like stay in your rage longer. Plus, he then goes unstoppable. And this happens on evades, right? So this also happens against Nightcrawler. He's one of my favorite counters to Nightcrawler. I've shown that. And then he goes unblockable. So I've shown him against like Red Skull and things. If you're like, seriously, go please check out my channel, my playlist on him, showing a variety of places. And then and like I said, I got this from TJ. You play aggressively enough, and if you have enough health, because the SB will kill you. If it finishes your life bar, you don't revive. But if your SB3 doesn't kill you, and you're in your rage, you're just gonna heal it all back. He's great. He's phenomenal. I absolutely love him. And well, you're gonna see when we do my own personal. All right, now let's go ahead and jump on to the number 1 champion. It's none other than Big Daddy Onslaught, right? Like, I can't deny it. I won't deny it. There's no reason to deny it. I mean, guys got resistances for days. They help charge him up, which is an ability that I love. I love that mechanic in Champion where like they're resistant or they're immune or whatever, and then you take them on those fights that would normally place them, and they actually charge them up too. I actually like his signature ability. I now do in some way wish I had those 6 stones for Dazzler, because they can create a fight that she otherwise couldn't take, right? Getting up those pursuit passives. But I don't think that placing them into Onslaught was a bad idea in and of its time, right? I do like the potency of the Daunted being increased. That's part of how I utilize him, and his damage is relying on that. You can't just play him parry heavy over and over, and then as you get more skilled with him, you create openings for your heavy off of like the opponent's specials, or you get them to use their heavy, and then you punish it with your own. He has a replacement of the stuns. This is like I was talking about how like Bishop's Venn diagram is being swallowed up a little bit. Onslaught is one of the mini champions that is coming in and kind of really placing him over where Bishop used to be so awesome. It doesn't mean that Bishop has no uses, and not everyone's got an Onslaught, but I really do think if you've got an Onslaught, not that you don't need a Bishop, but do you really? And that just shows you how great he is, because if you're good enough to make another champion feel borderline pointless when you're comparing the two of them, and then you have added on things like we've seen him be great in long form, especially if you utilize that SP3. He's fantastic. As if I'm recommending, he's definitely, and it's like kind of almost an easy answer. Onslaught is the number 1. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at my own personal, very biased rankings. All right, as I said, no, this is what it would look like if I wasn't like concerned about giving out. I was just like, no, my experience, and that's what it is, right? And when we do the top 30, I'm not going to do that. In fact, I'm even going to remove my Battlegrounds and Fun Focus. Just like, no, if I'm just giving out advice, if I'm ranking champions across all of the formats, all the modes, here's how I rank them. But that's not what this is. This is like my play style, what I enjoy, Battlegrounds and fun, and this is it. I recognize how great Onslaught is. I do. But I think Dazzler is even more valuable, and she is more valuable for me. I'm not good against Atuma and Korg. I'm very comfortable with that fact. I'm not even very good against Killmonger. And Dazzler takes away that damage back mechanic. She just takes it away. So I can just focus on fighting them and just playing her. She also happens to be an absolute blast, and she's incredibly powerful, which is helpful. And then, like I said, Wolverine. Wolverine is... There might be others, but he is in the top 3, if not the number 1 champion that I want to see show up early in a deck. I know I can place him on defense, even if a person has a counter. If they mess up his rage just even a smidge, and I tell you, he's doing that stutter step more and more and more, in my opinion, they're going to mess up. They're going to take damage. He could even just absolutely kill them. And then additionally, if they pull up a bullseye, I'm just laughing. I'm like having a good time. If they pull up a Nightcrawler, I'm just giggling over here, and I'm like, yes! Now I can draft another defender if I get stuck later in my draft. Plus, he's just fun. You just go full on rage mechanic in questing content, taking special threes like it's no one's business, and you have a phenomenal time, okay? Mr. Sinister, all of those, they make a lot of sense. I think you see Negasonic up there. Deadpool is insanely fun. I also feel like that's kind of the end of a tier for me. If Dust is like the end of a tier for sure. Probably Domino into Dust is its own. I don't know. But Deadpool is like a drop down because he just doesn't have all that utility. If I pull him and I awaken him from the Glorious Guardians crystal, I will rank him. I'll have some fun with him. I enjoy the character Deadpool, but I just want to be clear on that. That's why you see him as high up. It's not that I think he's going to be dominant in Battlegrounds. And then I just don't use my Sunspot as much, but I know top players who use him and just cut through decks with him. And then Professor X, I see he's now in the basic. I want to get him awakened and I want to play him. I've loved Professor X since like literally he came into the game. I was putting out videos, having a great time with him. I absolutely love him. He is someone who I will want to get awakened, and then as I get more and more ranked through materials, I will definitely rank him up. That is it for Mutant. I hope you've really been enjoying the series. Remember, the playlist is linked in the description. Myself, the Illuminati, have done this for every single class. Then I'm going to be doing the top 30 champions in the game, and then the full on, now that we've stress tested everything, Illuminati general tier list update for December. It is a large update as we went through and really stress tested all our beliefs and thoughts on these champions. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you enter the contest. Let me know what you think we got right. Let me know what you think we got wrong. Take care.